Welcome to About CLP Mastery from TT Environmental. I'm Janet Greenwood, the person who produced CLP Mastery. Let me show you around. So who are we at TT Environmental? Well, we're a small micro SME environmental and safety company which I set up in 2001 in the UK to help the chemical industry. And that developed into helping everyone dealing with hazardous chemicals in the UK and even beyond. Our tagline is helping industry protect the environment, although over the years it's been extended to helping industry protect the environment and people. I also realised something really important, which is that the chemical industry was in danger of being taken for granted and being regulated out of business. People like what we do, like clean water and food and medicines, but they don't seem to like the fact that we need to do things with hazardous chemicals in order to make them. And in order to provide our enormously successful and wealthy way of life, we really do need to keep the chemical industry going. We started out consulting initially on environmental permitting and then COMA, and then in 2006 I helped to found the Chemical Regulation Self-Help Group, which is a discussion group about REACH, which quickly expanded to include CLP when that was published in 2008. So why did you get involved in CLP GHS? Well, there were two great needs in the chemical industry when CLP was first implemented, and we saw both of them through our Chemical Regulation Self-Help Group members. Now, the first need was training in how to read and understand the new labels, because the change from the chip label to the CLP one was quite dramatic, and it included having less information on the label, forcing people into the small print of the SDS more, which frankly is still a weakness in GHS and therefore in CLP. So I did a lot of awareness training in 2009-2010 as CLP began to be implemented. And that was speaking publicly pro bono and also paid for really detailed awareness training. The second great need was training in creating the labels and SDSs in the first place. Now, because I was working with other regulations, I was very, very aware of how important chemical classification is. If you change how you define the hazards of a chemical, it affects cost, it affects process safety, it affects environment, it affects your occupational health and safety in general. So everything is affected when classification changes, and at the time my interest was in making sure that my clients could understand that and how it impacted on the regulations I was dealing with. So what made me qualified to do this? Great question. Well, when CLP was introduced, nobody was qualified, nobody. Apart from the people who'd attended the GHS committee who were so high level, they weren't at the sharp end of classifying anymore. Now, CLP was very, very different to CHIP, its predecessor. There was some long-winded guidance from ECHA, which came out as usual at the last minute, and none at all from local regulators like the HSE. So everyone was reading up on the regulations and what guidance there was and doing the best they could. But I thought, well, I'm an industrial chemist and I'm a trained teacher as well, who's used to chemical regulations. If not me, then who? So how did CLP Mastery start? Well, we were asked. We were approached by a labelling company and they tried to read the UN Purple Book for GHS and they got stuck. They only needed help with labels, not safety data sheets. They had to have in-house training. They couldn't take the time to attend any external courses. So I sat down with CLP because I knew it was quite different from GHS itself, and I started to analyse it. This initial training was round a table based on one idea or topic on a sheet of A4 paper. We would talk round it and do some practice. It was that simple. So because my clients couldn't go away on a course, I thought, well, I'd better go on one. And I took a one-day training course in labelling. But it was very much point at the regulations and explain, not a great deal of interactivity. Now, I'm quite sure that course has improved since then. Everyone was just so busy trying to cope with all these regulatory changes at the time, after all. But I got home to Mike and I said, I can do this quicker, better, and more memorably. And I sat down and I produced some of my first infographics. before I'd even heard of the term, to help people understand things better. And we still use some of those original infographics to this very day. And here's one of those original infographics. It's about the information that goes on the label and how it should be laid out. It has changed a bit, of course. There might be the odd mistake on this one, for example. So when did this kind of informal training evolve into a formal live course? Well, the training course evolved quite quickly. As I analysed the CLP regulation and looked back at the CHIP regulations and guidance, I realised that CHIP was written in a much easier way with a lot of lookup tables for classification, whereas CLP was all algorithms, including some very complex ones. But there was nothing to stop me reproducing CLP in a CHIP style format, or was there? So I emailed the HSE help desk and they said they'd got no intention of creating their own guidance. So I put a great deal of effort into classification and labelling documents, and they were checked in enormous detail by my team at the time. So we went from the summer of 2010 doing the first course. By the time we got to November 2010, we had a full course up and running. So we created a series of individual handouts which included tools to help people classify and label their products quickly and accurately. And then we extended it to safety data sheets as well over 2 days. And then over time we combined those individual handouts into printed booklets. The course always included exercises designed to help people learn, because we'd done that in our CLP awareness training. And it allowed everyone to practice and make mistakes in a safe environment. And the course stayed in this format with updates and input from people until 2018. I think we trained around 75 people face-to-face, alongside all our other work, of course. Now, input from other people has always been really important to CLP Mastery. Initially, I just produced the training materials and my team checked and double-checked everything. But we've always taken feedback from our trainees, and then team members started to take on particular tasks like turning the first principles classifications into a series of flow charts to make it easier to classify in that way, and other actions like that. But I have to say, feedback from our trainees is particularly important, because you can't proof what you create, whether that's words, calculations or diagrams, and that applies to people on my team as well as to me. It's amazing how often we'll build something, we'll go, oh, that's a fantastic infographic or sketch note, and somebody will go, you missed that bit there, and we're like, oh, how did all of us miss it? But it's true. So CLP Mastery really is a team effort which is continually being updated as we learn new things, as new regulations come in, and it's what you might call a bit of a hive mind. It's like the system is expert now. It's not down to any one individual, because it's such a compilation of the best ways we've found to be able to train you in labels and SDSs and classification. So if the course was so successful face-to-face, why move online? Well, that's another great question, and there were a number of reasons for that. By 2018, it was clearer than ever before that CLP and REACH were continually changing and kind of bouncing off each other, and producing unforeseen interactions, I think is the best term. And we were also aware that Brexit was on the horizon. So we had a choice. If we were going to train people properly in what was going on, we could either extend the course to 3 days in person, or perhaps longer, or we could move the course online and allow people to take it over a longer period of time, which would also, in theory, free up our time for other consultancy work. But getting such a large and detailed course online takes a lot of work. It didn't actually get online until 2019. So how has the online course evolved? Well, at first the course was self-serve only, and frankly it wasn't even called CLP Mastery. That came a bit later. But my own experiences from self-serve courses versus having some interaction with a trainer showed me that if you have that live real-time interaction between the trainer and the trainee, it makes it much more likely that people will complete the course. And I also missed the interactivity from the live courses because it was fun to do. The feedback from the trainees had really helped me develop the course in the first place. And by the time we started thinking about how things were working, it was lockdown and we were all a bit lonely during lockdown. So we started an accountability program, and that was weekly online meetings. And at first it was just to review the previous week's module. And then it evolved into a more interactive format with real live exercises, just like we had during the live face-to-face training, and ask us anythings and things like that. Now, we found that the accountability program suited people much, much better than self-serve. And we also added in a practice area online and quizzes, and that's made the online course as close to the real life training experience as it possibly can be. So it really did feel like we cracked the code. We could train people relatively quickly in a safe environment on a very important set of topics. But running the accountability program several times a year was extremely time intensive for us, and it confused the trainees if people were on different timelines through the course. So the final piece of the jigsaw after 9 rounds of the accountability program has been to make CLP Mastery an annual program where everyone gets access to everything. So what does CLP Mastery look like today? Well, today CLP Mastery is a hybrid online course combining the online video training with live video meetings. It covers GHS in the EU, GB and Northern Ireland. That is the CLP regulation and the safety data sheet parts of the REACH regulation. But we also discuss how REACH has an impact on the safety data sheet and sometimes on CLP itself as well. It only runs once a year. Now there's an intensive 3-month training phase up front, followed by a 9-month implementation phase where we still have meetings but only once a month instead of once a week. Now there's actually a video tour going through CLP Mastery in detail if you haven't already seen it. So how do you know the training works? Well, we've got several pieces of evidence. Firstly, our trainees actually tell us that they understand what's happening. That aha moment when you can see the penny dropping is really, really rewarding to us because we know that they're understanding the same things that we are. They show us that they understand by the types of discussions that we have or the questions that you can ask now. And finally, the quizzes in CLP Mastery allow us to actually check on everyone's progress and make sure that everyone is competent in classifying, labeling and compiling safety data sheets. Remember, you only get a certificate for us if you pass those quizzes. So, does TT Environmental still offer consultancy? Well, yes, we still do consultancy work on environmental permit, COMA, including our Evaluate software for calculating COMA liability, incidentally, quick plug there. CLP, and we answer all sorts of questions around chemical regulation. We've got our quick consultancy calls for small projects and queries, and we can also work on contract. If you'd like more details, have a look at our ttenvironmental.co.uk website, and there's a link below this video. So how do we contact you? Well, you can contact us in a number of ways. You can email me on janet@ttenvironmental.co.uk. You can give us a ring, although we may not answer immediately because we are really busy at the moment, so email is better. You can send me a direct message in LinkedIn. Always happy to contact with people if we're not already in touch. And there's also other information on our Contact Us page. And again, the link will go below this video along with everything else I've just mentioned. So where do I find out more about CLP Mastery? Well, if you haven't already, why not take the CLP Mastery tour, which is on clpmastery.com. If you've got any questions, again, you can email me, and you can also book a free live online tour with me on Calendly, and you can invite your colleagues too once you've signed up for that. And again, all these links are below this video. So, how do I go about enrolling in CLP Mastery? All you need to do is visit our enrolment page at clpmastery.com/enroll-here. And again, there's a link below this video. We'd be absolutely delighted to see you in there. So thanks very much for watching this all about CLP Mastery and how it was developed. I hope you found it interesting. I look forward to seeing you sometime. Take care of yourself. Bye.